If you've been to Cyrodiil since Waking Flame, you will have seen it, a big purple ball that pulls you in and blows you up. It's the portable bomb that comes with the new Dark Convergence set, a set that's pretty quickly turned into one of the most hated sets in PvP. It is admittedly a bit cheesy, but today we're going to embrace the cheese and we're going to see what mischief you can get up to with this new set. So what does the set do exactly? Well, if you use an AoE ability, in my case Scalding Rune, but you could also use like Daedric Tomb or Caltrops or whatever you have in your class, it leaves a bomb where you put the AoE. And what it does is it will pull people in, it will snare them, it will stun them, and it will deal damage to them based on how close they are to the center of the blast. And it will do this after 4 seconds, so your target will have 4 seconds to try and escape. And after that, it will go boom. And the more people are affected by the blast, the harder it will hit. So it's kind of like a portable version of proximity detonation, and in that sense it's comparable to your classic bomber gameplay, your Magblade bomber with the soul tether, but in this case you can cast it from range. You can cast it, like I said, with Scalding Rune or Destro ulti even, and you can put it on the ground somewhere. It will pull people in and you can try and finish them off with a ranged AoE spammable, such as in my case Fire Ring. Now there's multiple ways of incorporating this set into your gameplay, but what I've done is I have tried to maintain the classic bomber gameplay, but used the range advantage that this set gives in order to do some ranged bombing. So I still use Vicious Death, I still use invisibility to get into good spots, but I have a huge advantage now in comparison with classic bombing, with soul tether bombing. So what you'll see in this video is how you achieve that kind of gameplay, how you can get the maximum out of your set in playing that way. So most of what I say will be specific to Magblade gameplay in combination with Vicious Death, but there's still a lot of things in here that will be transferable to other classes or to other playstyles even. Like I said at the beginning, there are some complaints about this set. People think it's too easy to get kills, and I do agree that to an extent it's pretty easy to get kills with this. Sometimes you do notice the set is kind of doing work for you, but in general I still think the same rule applies as with regular bombing, that the skill is not in the combination, in the combo of skills, which is pretty simple, but it's more in like where do you position yourself, when do you bomb, how do you bomb, and that's where the skill comes in. And the purpose of this video is to kind of show you, first of all, what the advantages of this build are over traditional bombing, if we can call it that, but it's also to show you how you can incorporate this into your gameplay and really have fun with it, play around with it, take maximum advantage of this set for as long as we can enjoy it, and to really become a full-blown ranged bomber instead of someone who just wants the latest hype set and thinks the set will do everything, because that won't be the case. First, let's take a look at my build. Now, I'm not a theory crafter and this is not a build video, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what a Dark Convergence bombing build can look like. Credit to the basic concept of this build has to go to Luca Cash, who is a Daggerfall Covenant player, who you should definitely follow for actual build recommendations. I'll put a link to his channel in the description so you can follow him. I did tweak my build a bit to better suit my playstyle, so I'll just go over what I'm running at the moment. As you can see, I run a Dark Convergence on my back bar. We only need it on one bar in order to proc it, so on the front bar I'm running a Vicious Death, which is your classic bombing set. It will cause the bodies of players you kill to explode for tons of damage. You can also run other sets here. I know some people use Hrothgar's Chill for maximum cheese, but as I said in the beginning, I prefer to retain at least a part of the old school bombing feel by using Vicious Death and creating that domino effect. For additional damage, I use Malakat's Ring as well as Balorg for when my ulti is up. In combination with the Lover Mundus, this gives me over 32k penetration when I use a fully charged ulti, which is obviously quite a lot. Let's talk about the skills for a bit. Most skills on my front bar are just kind of there for their passive effects, such as the Fighter's Guild skills for more spell damage. I personally slot Swallow Soul simply because I like having a ranged single target spammable when a low health target is trying to get away. But you could just, slot anything here, like an extra Fighter's Guild skill, and you can also actually swap out Dawnbreaker for Soul Harvest to get some extra ultimate generation from your kills. But it's really up to you. Normally, though, the only skill you'll actually use on the front bar is firing. It's the AoE spammable from the destruction skill line. You dump it on top of your targets after proccing Dark Convergence. It's not the most convenient skill to use, as it can sometimes be difficult to aim, especially if you have your ground cast abilities set to insta-cast like I have. But it's the best option we have at our disposal, at least when playing as a Magblade, which I am. Backbar skills we'll actually be using a bit more. Of course, we have Raise Against Time, which is one of our mobility tools. Scalding Rune as our primary way of proccing Dark Convergence. Cloak to move around unseen, which is a huge advantage even with our range setup. Being cloaked, by the way, will prevent you from being pulled into an enemy's Dark Convergence, so it's really useful as a defensive tool as well. We have Concealed Weapon as a passive to make us faster and stick, and I personally slotted Purge primarily for the little bit of extra magic recovery, but also because it works as a defense against some of the threats we will be facing as a Dark Convergence bomber, but I'll get into that in a bit. Then we have the Destra ulti to, I'll set to my back bar here. It's Icy Rage. The Destra ulti to proc Dark Convergence when it's up. In combination with Balorg, it's really strong. You can see that I use an Ice Staff back bar here. Which someone recommended to me because it also reaches your enemies. Really, you can get away with an Inferno or Lightning Staff here as well, and you will get similar results. Even a Resto Staff works, but the Destra ulti is just too good to pass up on when playing as a Magblade. Some players use the Resto ulti to proc Balorg, which really works fine, but it offers no additional offensive power, and you don't really need healing on this build anyway. With the range, you can really minimize threats to a point where you're more likely to survive than just about any other build. Like over the past weekend, I went through several days of playing a Dark Convergence bomber in Cyrodiil without dying once. So, well, that explains everything you need to know. And like even when you're caught off guard, I find that there's like little that a crappy Resto Staff heal will do to save you anyway. So, like, why bother? One thing I will say is I would not recommend using the Meteor ulti at all. I forgot if it even procs Dark Convergence, but even if it does, the ulti has like a huge tail that will get players to spread out and roll dodge out of the way, which is the exact opposite of what we would want to achieve as a bomber. So do not slot that ulti with this build or with any bomber build, in my humble opinion. Anyway, onto champion points. The blue ones I have slotted here are the most important, especially Occult Overload, as it will deal additional damage when a player is affected by a status effect. It frequently helps me get extra kills, so absolutely slot it. Red slottables, I would recommend at least slotting Celerity, as being mobile as a bomber really is everything. Bastion is also good against shield enemies, but the rest is really up to you. The green tree is not that important, but just invest in any skills that give you more speed and more sneaking ability. I also recommend investing in the breakfall. Let's see, where is the breakfall passive? As we might need to drop off high structures to make our escape, so limiting your fall damage actually can like literally save your life multiple times per session. The Mundus stone is Lover, as said. You could use Apprentice here as well for more spell damage, but I get better results with Lover. Magicka Sustain Food, and either Tri-Stat or spell damage potions, depending on the situation. You might be able to get more out of this build if you're a vampire, but to be honest, I don't really know, as I'm a dirty role player who's not interested in playing a vampire, so you will have to figure that one out by yourself. Now, time to move on to see how to actually use this build. People say that Dark Convergence bombing is a low skill playstyle, and well, they're kind of right in the sense that you don't need a lot of skill to at least get a couple of kills in with this gear. But if you really want to get the most out of it, there's a couple of things that you can do to increase your advantage. If you just expect the build to do all of the work for you and call it a day, then you'll get mediocre results at best. The two main elements that separate a good bomber from a mediocre one are the same for Dark Convergence bombers as they are for traditional tether bombers, namely positioning and timing. There's some overlap between these two elements, but we'll go over both of them in detail. Let's take a look at positioning first. What is the ideal positioning for a Dark Convergence bomber? Well, we have the benefit of range, but we'll still need a little bit more than just that. Even if you bomb a group from range in an open field, you might still be a gap closer away from getting one shot by any decent melee build out there. So instead, what we are going to look for is elevation. Like in that bad Star Wars movie, you'll want to get the high ground. Why? Because it limits potential threats. When you're standing on a wall, a roof, or any other platform, you have already cut off direct access between you and every melee-based fighter out there. When we have the high ground, we have basically limited our direct threats to three main categories. First, we have the ranged Magblades and the Bowgankers, who have the firing power to take us out from a distance in a short period of time. As soon as you take damage from them, simply hold block and roll dodge away, and you'll likely be fine. If you play defensively like I do, you'll roll dodge immediately when hit. Like, remember, we can bomb even without our ulti up, so we'll just need for the 15-second proc cooldown to finish, and we can try again. The second major threat is mag swords. They can hit us with all kinds of nasty stuff like Haunting Curse, Mage's Wrath, Crystal Blast, and whatever spammable they may have slotted. Even when you block and roll dodge away, their timed burst might still end you. This is where Purge comes in super handy. You just hit the Purge button when you're out of harm's way, and then you can use the time to use a Tri-Stat potion to heal yourself, or to find someone to heal you for you. The third threat is other Dark Convergence users. The proc can currently pull defenders off walls, which I'm pretty sure is not intended to happen, but for now it's a threat that we have to live and deal with. Like I said before, Cloak prevents you from being pulled in, but even if you're caught, you can often just roll dodge out of it. Apart from these threats, you don't have that much to worry about as a Dark Convergence bomber. Simply using the vertical space of itself will reduce attacks in your direction, as people are simply less inclined to look up. Then let us take a look at timing. Timing might not be the most accurate name for this section, as I will not only be talking about when to hit, but also about who to hit. First things first though, let's take a quick look at timing itself. We know that we need higher ground for the best chance at successful Dark Convergence bomb. Timing our bomb will also be important, however, as we need to pick a time and a place to get the most kills. What is important to realize is that a group that has its guard up will be more difficult to strike. Especially if a group has just been bombed, they will usually adjust themselves, adapt to the situation, and adjust their positioning so that the next attempt will be less likely to succeed. But even if a group has not been bombed yet, then they might still take some precautionary measures just to be sure. One thing I like to do is I like to port to an outpost or a keep that I know is likely to be attacked, but it's not important enough strategically for your own faction to come and save. This leads to an ideal situation where you are the only defender and you can really pick your moment to hit back against the attackers. In this situation, I tend to wait a bit until the enemy siege is in full swing. If you attack immediately when the siege starts, you'll usually have fewer targets, as an enemy group rarely arrives at the exact same time. You will also immediately announce your presence and make it harder to get a lot of kills in. So what I do at an outpost, for example, is I wait until the door is at about 35 or 30%, and then I move up to the roof. Even if a group takes precautionary measures against bombers, they'll be less on edge the closer the door is to bursting open. When an outpost door hits 20% and nothing has happened yet, the enemy will likely think that no one is home, and they will become more focused on barging in the moment the door opens. That is your ideal moment to bomb, as they will stack more on the door and be less concerned with the bombing threat. After you get a few kills that way, you can usually hit them again as soon as the cooldown wears off to hit players trying to res the dead. In general, hitting players who are resing is a great tactic to pull in more and more victims, as they have to move within your reach in order to resurrect their friends. This is a huge advantage for us, as it means that even if our initial bomb only kills 1 or 2, we can use those bodies to pull in more of their allies. One thing you should do in both this scenario and in general is to always try and pick a different point from which you launch your attack. If possible, never strike from the exact same position twice. You see people doing this a lot, whether it's with bombing or with ganking in general, where they will try to pull the exact same move a few times in succession, and it just invites your enemies to kill you the next time you pop your head out. The less predictable you are, the harder you are to kill. Like whack-a-mole will also be super easy if the mole only popped out of one hole, so don't do that. What else can we do to maximize the number of kills? Well, this is more specific to vicious death bombing, but if we can, we need to observe the group a bit to see who could be the first domino to fall. So in other words, who is the most likely to die first? These could be lower ranked players, for example, or players who are squishy and have less than 25k health. There's even players I just know have low situational awareness and will not react adequately, even if they have a rank and health bar that would imply otherwise. Once you know who to pick, you can simply dump the proc on their head when there's enough players standing around them, and everyone will go boom. Apart from observing individual players, basic logic will also help you out a lot. Even random pickup groups have started to adapt to Dark Convergence, so they will usually put their tankiest player on the ram. Still, a lot of less tanky players will typically congregate between the pillars in front of the main gate, so you can also choose to drop your proc there. In general, I would suggest dropping the proc in different places, so that the group cannot easily predict where the next kill zone will be. You'll notice that players will often get a false feeling of safety when they move away from the most obvious spot to be hit, so use this to your advantage and surprise them. Finally, part of your timing is knowing when to take a step back. With both bombers and gankers, I think the biggest skill to have is not to be too greedy. So when the odds are starting to stack against you, pack your stuff and move away from the chaos. When you've been bombing inside the keep, you can usually move to a resource or to a nearby outpost and wait for more victims there. So plan an exit strategy in advance and don't overstay your welcome. If you do this consistently, you'll rarely get killed. Finally, let us look at a few clips that I have lined up. I'll give commentary on them and explain how the things that I have just explained were or weren't applied there. Okay, so I've shown you way too much footage of outposts and keeps, so let's start with the resource. This is from the beginning days of Dark Convergence. We were still trying to figure out how to use it. You can see a bomber over there using a typical bomber spot to try and bomb the resource flag, but he has barely any elevation. He's in clear sight of multiple players, including me, so he gets killed before he even gets one kill in. So what do you do at the resource tower? Well, that's what I tried to do here. I spot a group. I see that one of their scouts is jumping down, so I assume that the resource tower is now unguarded. So I make my way up. I have my elevation. I observe the group for a bit, see that they're easy to bomb. Plenty of squishy guys in there. Bomb 5 kills, roll dodge back, out of harm's way before they know what's going on. Same thing here. I make my way up. I have to wait a little bit here before their scout jumps down. If you play in a group and you take a resource, always keep someone upstairs until the flag has flipped. Otherwise, someone like me will pop up, throw a proc in there. It's not a huge one, it's 2 kills, but still get the job done. We don't always have to find elevation on keep walls or wherever. We can also find it in the field, like here in Castle Brindle. I noticed the Zerg is pulling back a bit. They think the walls are too scary, so I figure, well, there's a big ledge just behind them. So I'll just go up there and dump an ulti on them. Well, I slightly mistime it here. They start to spread out just before I hit, and there's a bit of lag, so I only get 1 kill in the end. But it's more about the idea than the execution. Same thing here. Big fight. They have a Volendrung. I tried to kill them, but we got a lot of tanky boys in there, so it doesn't quite work out. I also don't have elevation, so I can't really see what's going on, but then I think, hey, there's ledge there. Let me try again. I just jump or throw a proc in there at the right time. Get 4 guys, and 3 of them are dead. So here's a clip I showed a bit earlier in the video. I want to talk about more in depth. Here you can see me waiting until the door hits like 35%. I'm the only one in the outpost. There's no one here. It's late at night. AD is logged off. I make them think that they're alone. They start to congregate around the door, and then I hit them with a fat ulti, and then boom. A lot of guys dead. You can see here that I roll dodge to the right side in case anyone's watching me. I want to make them think I'm going to go this side, but then I go in cloak. I'll wait a bit until my cooldown is over. I observe the group. I go back to the other side and I hit them from there. Now I kind of screwed up the ring of fire here. It was late at night, forgive me. Still got a lot of kills. And as you can see, if you look closely, they're still firing at the position that I bombed them from the first time. So they have no clue where I am. You can even see a bit of Dark Convergence there. Now, here's a video of me having some fun in a keep. It's Farragal. Big siege. I tried to find a very unlikely spot, this tiny ledge here that some people might not even know exists. But I get comfy in here. I cloak. This is why I like being a Magblade. Can be very sneaky, very trolly. I wait until a couple of guys are too close together. I enforce some social distancing. Now I don't get a lot of kills here per bomb, but I keep getting kills because either people are rezzing or because some allies downstairs are keep fighting them, and like every once in a while just throw a little bomb in there and see what happens. Like here, again, 2 dead, no big deal. Cloak again, still nobody has any idea I'm even up here, and like even if they do, there's not too many people who can actually do anything about it because I'm hard to hit here. Again, I just wait until a couple of people gather, maybe someone squishy, that would be nice. Oh, we have a resort, so I drop an ulti on him, and whoop, and now I'm spotted. And this is what I mean with don't overstay your welcome. A guy downstairs is trying to shoot at me, he knows where I am, so I just go do something else. And what is it something else? Well, it's the old flanking maneuver. Because what can you do when everyone's eyes are fixed on the main gate? You go and stand the way they're not facing. So you can see here they're all fighting in that direction. I go up here. Not a lot of people here, no real interest in this place. And again, I just drop a little bomb in there. Not too many kills, but still, no, better than nothing. You have to be creative. Now, let's go into the next one. It's a ball group. They're taking pressure. Can we do anything? Yes, we can. We can drop a little bomb in their path. They're already taking pressure. So this bomb pushes 3 of them over the edge. And shortly after this clip, the entire group collapses. You'll have to see it. Now, here's one where I know that there's a hammer coming this way with no defense. Somehow red guy is still inside. Well, there's a rare single target killing. So I just wait until the hammer comes. There's really no one here, but you know, we can at least kill the hammer, right? There's one other guy, but you know, just drop it in there. Hammer gets too close, and whoop, we got ourselves a hammer that's free for the taking. Of course, the rest will try to pick it up. So what do? I just throw another little bomb in there and see what happens. And kaboom. Now, last one, we have 2 enemy factions inside our keep. It's very much lost. We have the hammer in there as well. I'm just observing the group to see when we reach critical mass, when it's time for a bomb. Ooh, that seems like a lot of them, I think. So, time for a bomb. And of course, I have elevation here again. And I kill so many that I roll dodge off the keep. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I just tried to show you that you can have fun with Dark Convergence. It is a bit of a special playstyle. Like, I think I will eventually go back to a more traditional one-on-one fights again when I get bored with this. But you can have fun and be creative with this set. So just well, put something together. You can do it with pretty much any Magicka class, maybe even with stamina classes, but I haven't tried that. If you have any questions or whatever, or just want to see more clips of me killing people, then you can follow me on Twitter on Tamyobikewar. So hopefully we'll see you there, and until next time.